After we remove the snow, we may want to improve traction because there's some snow left on the concrete. What should we apply? For very cold, below zero winter days, use sand. At super cold temperatures, your deicers will not work. Sand will give you traction on top of the snow or ice, but it will never melt anything. Once the sand has moved onto bare pavement, it's time to sweep it up. It will never provide traction again. It will only add to a slippery walking situation and track into the building. Sweep it up. You can put it in a dumpster or reapply it to an area of compaction. Choose your deicer based on pavement temperatures. Air temperatures and pavement temperatures are different. On average winter days, deicers work fine to melt the snow and ice. There are a variety of deicers available. Sodium chloride or rock salt is effective down to about 15 degrees pavement temperature. Magnesium or calcium chloride work at colder pavement temperatures. If you're using a blended deicer, you will have to do the research to determine its practical melting range. In general, deicers do not work below zero temperatures. If purchasing or applying deicers, take time to understand the practical melting range and do not apply at pavement temperatures colder than recommended. If it's a warm day and the sidewalk or steps look wet, you don't need deicers. The sun is doing the melting, use nothing. To keep deicers fresh and spreadable, store them in a tightly covered container. Many of our deicers attract moisture to themselves and turn into a solid lump if we keep them uncovered. For most of our winter days, the pavement temperatures are warm enough for deicers to work. If we have shoveled the snow, and a small amount of deicer will melt the remaining flakes. If you have applied too much deicer or spilled some, take a minute and sweep it up. Reapply it to a different slippery area. Don't leave it on the concrete. If you leave extra salt on the concrete, you now have a new slippery situation, not to mention harming the water and nearby vegetation.
Well, when I was a baby, my dad used to take us out on the boat, and I was about 2 when I learned how to fish. The lakes and rivers are very important, more important than iPods and Facebook, because on a summer day you don't want to really sit inside. You want to go out to the lake and the beach and have fun, and I'd like it to be around for a lot longer too. I want my kids to have the same experiences at the lake as I did, because you have a great time there.
So, how much deicer should you use? If your organization has an application rate chart that guides you in this decision, then you should use it. There are application rate charts available on the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency website. It's in the parking lot and sidewalk manual. If you have no charts, here's a simple way to look at it. 4 pounds of deicer or less per 1,000 square feet. Here's an example of 3.3 pounds spread over 1,000 square feet. How do you measure a pound of deicer without a scale? Well, here's a trick. 1 heaping coffee mug holds about 1 pound of deicer. If you don't use a coffee mug, take your scoop, fill it up and weigh it. See how many pounds of deicer that holds. Write it on the scoop so you don't forget. Our goal is 4 pounds or less of deicer per 1,000 square feet. We recommend you get in the habit of estimating the size of the area you are planning to treat so you can use the proper amount of deicer. Square feet is simply length times width. You could pace it off, measure it, or with experience even eyeball it. For example, an average parking space is about 150 square feet. This would need a little more than a half a pound of deicer or about a half a coffee cup full. Another example is a curb cut. This is generally about 60 square feet. That would require about 1/4 of a pound or 1/4 of a coffee cup. If you don't know your square feet and you don't know how much your deicer weighs, concentrate on recreating the spread pattern. Notice no overlapping granules or mini piles of deicer. The granules are no more than 3 inches apart, but they're not dense. There's space between all of them. This is a spread pattern of about 3.3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. You would rarely need deicer spread more densely than this. Remember what the spread pattern looks like? Then you will be able to recreate it on your own surfaces. If you're not sure, err on using less. You can always reapply if necessary.
The application rate you see behind me was done using a half a pound of material over 150 square feet. It was applied evenly by using a hand spreader. If you were to try and do this using, say, a cup or a scoop, it's very difficult to get this sort of even application. Here I have the same half pound of material that we applied over the 150 square feet pattern you saw earlier. If you don't have a spreader available to you, you can make an effort to apply it evenly. Now you'll notice that I applied it fairly evenly, but I wasn't able to apply it over the entire area. If you have the ability to use a piece of equipment that will allow you to spread your product evenly, it'll avoid you a lot of extra material and it'll make your work a lot easier.
As you can see, spreaders work great for most deicers, especially if you keep the deicers covered and the moisture out of them. If you use rock salt, the crystals are too large for a hand spreader and you'll have to use a scoop. Unfortunately, scoops lend themselves to over-application of material. When you purchase your spreaders, look for sturdy ones that actually can distribute the deicer and break through a few clumps. Also put one right at the building entrance, right next to that bin of deicer, so that the person doing the steps will be more likely to use it instead of the scoop method. If you want to help your crew, take the time to figure out the square feet of your entrances. Measure them out and draw a line on your spreader. This is how much you need. You are very important in noticing problems in your maintenance area. There are a variety of problems: the dip in the sidewalk that collects water and freezes every night, water that drips from the roof and refreezes on your steps. These are hazard areas for much public safety. You can't fix them no matter how much deicer you use. Report them to your supervisor. You are the key person in making others aware of the problem. In review, our first and best tool is to physically remove the snow and ice. Don't apply deicer during the storm. Use the proper snow removal tool and the proper technique. Only apply deicers to cleared surfaces and only with the proper spread pattern. If it's too cold, if it's one of those super cold days where the deicers won't work, go to sand. If it's a very warm day where it's already melting, don't apply anything at all. If there's excess material sitting on the concrete, clean it up. You have a very important job. You have the key job in creating safe winter surfaces and protecting our lakes and rivers. Together, all of us can make a huge difference. This ends our time together. We hope the video has given you maintenance tips and new reasons to be even more effective in your winter maintenance job. Have a great winter.
Through improved mechanical strategies and a reduction in salt use, we've cut costs, saved money. Maintenance professionals can really reduce impacts on the environment while keeping safe surfaces. We can make a big difference with the environment.
For more information about winter maintenance practices for sidewalks, parking lots, or roads, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has maintenance manuals on their website for you to print. The video that you see today is also on this website. The website is www.pca.state.mn.us/programs/roadsalt.html.